The fishwife. What? No, nothing. Small. Why? I don't believe it. Neither do I practice a dream. One scene. One line. Enough to shake the entire BBC to its core. Fawlty Towers, one of Britain's greatest sitcoms, became the center of a cultural storm that's still raging nearly 50 years later. How could a single episode turn a beloved comedy into one of the most hotly debated shows in television history? Today we reveal the real story behind the episode The Germans. The controversy that changed TV forever. The sixth episode of the first season, The Germans, aired on October 24, 1975. It quickly went from being a comedic highlight to a lightning rod for outrage at the heart. Of it were two unforgettable and shocking scenes. First, Major Gowan, a daughter, Autofoot's ex-army officer, recounts a cricket match between England and the West Indies. While telling his story, he uses two extremely racist slurs live on national television. These were words that even in the 1970s carried the weight of Britain's colonial past, and hearing them on the BBC was a jolt. Then came the moment that would enter television legend. Basil Fawlty, played by John Cleese, tries to host a group of German guests while muttering to himself, "Don't mention the war. Don't mention the war." Of course, within seconds, he does exactly that. Basil mockingly brings up World War II, throws his arm in a Nazi salute, goose-steps around the hotel dining room, and even imitates Hitler, all in front of stunned German visitors. This wasn't just cheap slapstick. The writers intended to satirize British post-war arrogance, poking fun at people who couldn't let go of the past. Basil wasn't meant to be admired. He was the butt of the joke, a caricature of ignorance and prejudice. But the impact was immediate and intense. To understand the backlash, you have to understand Britain. In 1975, the country was in transition. Younger generations were eager to move past the shadow of the war. While many older Britons still clung to imperial attitudes and wartime nostalgia, when The Germans aired, millions laughed. The phrase, "Don't mention the war," spread like wildfire, repeated in pubs, offices, stadiums, and even in Parliament. Critics hailed the episode as a masterpiece of satire. Clive James, writing in The Observer, declared, "This isn't just a sitcom. It's a mirror forcing us to laugh at the worst parts of ourselves." But not everyone was laughing. Within a week, the BBC received over 300 complaints, many from German community groups and anti-racism organizations. The use of racist slurs by Major Gowan and the Hitler impersonation were viewed by some as going far beyond acceptable satire. The BBC called an emergency internal meeting to decide whether to pull the episode. Ultimately, they ruled that the context made it clear the show was mocking ignorance, not endorsing it. The episode stayed on air, but leaked memos showed how uneasy executives were. One memo admitted, "If this weren't John Cleese, if this weren't Fawlty Towers, this episode would never have aired." And so The Germans became both the most beloved and the most controversial episode in the show's short history. Through the 1980s and 1990s, the episode was rebroadcast again and again. It was regularly ranked among the greatest comedy episodes ever made. In 1997, the phrase "Don't mention the war" was even added to the Oxford English Dictionary, defined as a sardonic reminder of social tactlessness. But while its comedic status grew, criticism simmered beneath the surface. Some argued that not everyone recognized the satire, that for some viewers, the jokes reinforced prejudice instead of mocking it. Fast forward to June 2, 2020. In the wake of the global Black Lives Matter movement, UK TV, when a BB Count streaming platform, quietly removed The Germans from its library. Their statement read, "The episode contains language and content that do not align with modern standards. We need to review it before reinstating." Within 24 hours, the media erupted, The Guardian wrote. "A legacy devoured by the very era that created it," The Telegraph claimed. "The book burners of the 21st century are no longer dictators. They are the woke." The Daily Mail declared, "Cancel culture has killed art." And Fox News called John Cleese the last man standing for creative freedom. Netflix and BritBox took a different route. They kept the episode but added a warning. This program contains language and attitudes that reflect the time it was made and may offend some viewers. Social media exploded. Hashtags like their Fawlty Towers are cancel culture and utter free speech trended for days. Two camps quickly formed. Those supporting the removal argued that no amount of context excuses racial slurs on modern TV. Those opposing said satire depends on showing ignorance to expose it, and censoring it erases the ability to critique society itself. John Cleese responded within 12 hours. He called the BBC and UK TV's decision stupid, cowardly, and dangerous. He explained that Major Gowan was meant to be laughed at, not with a relic of outdated attitudes. Removing his lines, Cleese argued, is like pretending people like him never existed. Over 3,000 posts appeared in just 72 hours from journalists, comedians, politicians, and everyday viewers. What started as a sitcom episode had become a full-blown cultural battlefield. While the episode became infamous, few people know how hard it was to get Fawlty Towers made in the first place. In 1974, the BBC rejected the first script, calling it too chaotic and nonsensical. One executive even wrote, "No one wants to watch a hotel run by lunatics." Cleese spent 6 months fighting to get the series approved. When it was finally greenlit, it was only for 6 episodes as a risky experiment. Filming the first season was grueling. Cleese's perfectionism led to daily clashes with producer John Howard Davies. He once stormed off set because a chair wasn't the exact color he'd specified. Connie Booth, Cleese, wife and co-writer, nearly quit mid-production. Exhausted by the stress, actor Andrew Saxes, who played Manuel, suffered secondary burns during a kitchen scene when a gas flare went wrong. He spent 5 days recovering, narrowly avoiding serious injury. By the end of season 1, no one believed there would be a second. Yet, the show became a phenomenon. Season 2 followed. Even as Cleese and Booth were in the middle of a divorce, they agreed to only communicate about work, and the tension was immense. By 1979, Cleese refused to make a 3rd season. He was mentally exhausted. The BBC kept interfering with scripts, and his partnership with Booth had dissolved. And so, Fawlty Towers ended after just 12 episodes, a tiny number for a show that would reshape television history. In 2000, the British Film Institute officially named it the greatest British TV series of all time. It's now studied in film schools worldwide for its flawless structure, timing, and ability to turn uncomfortable truths into unforgettable comedy. Fawlty Towers isn't just a sitcom anymore. It's a symbol of how satire can provoke, offend, enlighten, and endure. The line, "Don't mention the war," has escaped television and become cultural shorthand across the globe. And the debates around censorship, context, and comedy continue to this day. John Cleese has made his stance clear. "I'd rather be insulted for the rest of my life than bow down to the stupidity of censorship." Whether you see the Germans as brilliant satire or outdated offense, one truth is undeniable. Fawlty Towers is immortal. Not because it's flawless, but because it reflects our flaws back at us. Sharper and funnier than almost anything else on TV, call to action. If you're fascinated by the stories behind legendary shows, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode.